Hey guys, Scott Reese here with the Plow Zone radio show on Otel Music Videos on Roku TV. And we have one of my favorite bands, one of my favorite artists from the band Blue Oyster Cult. We have the man himself, the drummer, the anchor of Blue Oyster Cult from 1967 to about 1981. And let's bring on Albert Bouchard. Albert, thank you and welcome to the Plow Zone radio show, my friend.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, I have I told him I fanboyed out on him in the beginning. I've seen Blue Oyster Cult over 25 times. I saw Albert at least twice. I love all the albums. Growing up, they were part of a friend of mine, Steve Peters, great friend. He got me into Blue Oyster Cult, and I love the stories that you guys made up. You just silly songs and the great stories throughout all of those, and we're going to talk to you about all that stuff. So what are you doing right now, Albert?
Well, right this minute, I mean just this minute, I made some sushi for myself.
Nice.
And I ate about half of it. It's going to be there when I finish.
It's going to be there when you get done.
Yeah.
You have a show coming up April 25th. Why don't you talk about that?
Okay, so that's so I haven't had a show with my regular band since last year at this time. So we played up in upstate New York. And then after that, I was playing solo shows with just me and the guitar, or played with I played a duo show with my bass player David last November, and that was great. It was a really great show. Well, part of it was because on the bill also was another deco artist named Sandy Hall, who I'd never seen before, and I didn't know her. And but in the middle was Joe Sarasano, who's just like one of my favorite singers of all time, and he sung on the original Imaginos record. He did like 6 songs, but they only used 2. But then, or 1.5 really, because they put him in Frank. What was it called? Caesar Investiture of Baron von Frankenstein's Castle at Wassaria. He sang that whole thing, but he also sang half of I Am the One You Warned Me Of with Eric. So
really,
so he, but we've been friends for years and years and years. I made a solo record, a Christmas record, and he sang one of the songs on it. It's tremendous. Nobody has ever heard it because it's just like, I wanted. Well, it started out. So I play with this band Blue Coupe, right?
Okay.
Which is Dennis Dunaway and my brother Joe, and Tish and Snooky, these 2 sisters that sing with us. So, we're like old guys, and we got these 2 beautiful girls that sing along with us who are much better singers than any one of us. So we got the singing aspect, we got the visual aspect. So anyway, Snooky, I did a show not with Blue Coupe, but just myself, and for Tish and Snooky had a Christmas show, and Snooky said, I really always wanted to make a Christmas record. I said, me too, let's make a Christmas record. So I made this Christmas record with Tish and Snooky, and I wanted Blue Coupe to play on it, and Joe said, oh yeah, sure. So Joe actually contributed a couple songs. He wrote a song with Andy Chernoff called Festivus that the Dictators ended up doing later
for the rest of us.
Yeah. So, and he did another one, My Christmas Baby, that I wrote. He sang it. And then I finally convinced Dennis to do like a Scrooge Christmas one, where it was Christmas Scrooge. So anyway, Joe Sarasano sang a song on there that was terrific, and I hadn't really had him do anything since the Imaginos record. And then when it came time to do, so really what I've been doing the past, since 2020, really, besides playing with the Dictators, is I've been putting out these Imaginos records. So what I did was I redid the original Imaginos record, because I was never...
Really? Happy with it?
Everybody was like, "Oh, it's just the greatest," blah blah blah. And you know what? I thought it was even greater than that. I thought that it as we were doing it, I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life. And then when I heard it, I was disappointed. I was like, it's just overblown. It's just like there was a beauty in the simplicity of the early one. So and also fans were saying, "Oh, you should do your mix of it," And I didn't have the tapes at the time. I didn't know where they were. Nobody seemed to know. So anyway, 2020, I had a little band called with my bass player David and a couple ex-students, because I was a teacher for 30 years too. So two of my best music students were in my band, and we had a little band and we played. They all three of them, they were like, "Let's do this Imaginos record. It's really great. Let's just re-record it." I said, okay, maybe, so we started making demos, and I'm like, "Hey, we could do this. We could really do this, And I was thinking about Sandy and
Sandy
so when he died in 2016, he'd had a fall and he hit his head. He was, I think, 67 at the time, and he hit his head and had a what do you call it?
Aneurysm.
Aneurysm. Yeah. Aneurysm. So he went into a coma, and a month later he came out of the coma. And I was talking to the people in this happened in San Francisco, and so I was not able to visit him. So when he came out of the coma, I said, okay, Robert Duncan, who was taking care of him in San Francisco, called me and said, "Hey, Sandy came out of the coma. You want to come out here?" And I said, "Yeah." So I bought a ticket. I went out, flew out to San Francisco. I went to the hospital. Robert was really nice. He let me use his car, a Prius. It was the first time I'd ever driven a car like that. It was amazing. Brand new Prius. He said, "Yeah, you could take it." I'm like, "Okay." So
sure.
I was there in the hospital with Sandy for 2 days, and I didn't know what to expect. I knew that he wasn't talking, so I had songs prepared. I had all these things that I wanted to say to him. We had kind of, after Imaginos, I think we were both disappointed with what happened. He was disappointed in the reaction, and I was disappointed in the product. He didn't seem to think the product was that bad, because he did it, but he took me out of the loop, and he started adding all this other stuff, which I didn't think was necessary. So, he got Eric and Don to redo the vocals, which I didn't mind that much, because they did a great job. Especially Donald, but and Eric too. In the presence of another world, Eric does an amazing job on that one.
Definitely.
So there was stuff that they did that was clearly better than what I did. So I was happy. That was an improvement. But all these other overdubs and the million singers, and it was like, the way it was mixed, it was just not mixed.
Not mixed well. Not to your.
Well, he could have got like, what are those? What's the guy that just Chris Lord Alge?
Right.
Chris Lord Alge, like the guy who did The Symbol Remains. Now that he was the hot stuff back then. They could have got him or his brother Tom, or Andy Wallace. There was a million great mixes, but no, he had a guy that he could control. So
there you go.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was the issue. Is he didn't really want a great mixer. He just wanted to be in control. So that's why I was disappointed in the product. But also, we had terrific fights while we were making it. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I wanted a heavy metal record. I wanted a record that I could go out and tour with. I wanted a band that could just blow Blue Oyster Cult off the stage. There was a bit of revenge going on.
Little rivalry, little.
Oh yeah. I wanted that, And he's like, no, it should be more like folk songs, And I was like, no,
Well,
no,
no.
that's not going to work for me.
That's
So when I went to the hospital and I told him, I said, Sandy, I'm going to redo the record the way you wanted it to be done. And that's what I did. So with my students, and well, they didn't actually play much because COVID, the COVID happened, and so
Right.
they couldn't help me. They made the demos, but the demos were not ready. They were not good enough to release. So, I mean, I could have whipped them into shape, but they couldn't come over to my house. So I just did it all myself, or I sent stuff out to RJ Ronquillo because we got friendly over the internet. I watched him do some demo and he played Don't Fear the Reaper. I said, oh, yeah. Let me write to this guy and see if he wants to get involved. And he said, oh, sure. So he's been on every one. So that record came out and it was a big hit. I mean, it was, well, it wasn't a huge hit, but it made the charts, unlike the original, which, got to like 187 on the Billboard charts. So this one got to 93. So that's, that was not bad. And I actually made, unlike the original one, I actually made money, like
that's good.
Quite a bit of money, 5 figures, so
nice.
Yeah. So it was like, and that was the first solo record that I ever made any money. It was like,
really?
Yeah.
Now, did you put it out yourself?
No, see, that's the other thing. I used these guys, Deco, out of New Jersey, and they were just getting started too. So both of us were like, so I'm kind of, tied to them now, because now they've got all these other people. Everybody's like, oh, I want to, and they're doing well. They're both musicians. Very hardcore musicians and very into bringing quality product to people and supporting artists. So yeah, they're great.
Wow, great. Okay, let's go. I want to jump back before Blue Oyster Cult. You and your brother were. When did you guys first time you play together and go, I think we got something here, or did it just come naturally?
Well, here's what happened is my cousin Teddy Streets, his dad was he was an insurance real estate guy. He worked in this office where they sold real estate and insurance too. So, and he worked for my cousin Teddy. His grandfather was a real estate guy. So Teddy's father worked for his father. And on the weekends, he would go out and play at the different restaurants and bars and stuff. So he was like a weekend warrior. They played jazz. They played the kind of music that was popular during World War II. I guess apparently, I didn't find this out until years later, but my dad, when he was in high school, he decided to build a guitar. And so he got some plans. He sent away somewhere in a magazine to get plans to build a guitar. And so he made a guitar, which we had in the house. And with that guitar, he taught my Uncle Bill, Teddy's dad. Well, he wasn't, wasn't my uncle yet. Uncle Bill wanted to hang out with me. Uncle Bill was much younger. And so he wanted to hang out with my dad because he had a crush on my dad's sister.
There you go.
He used to come over to the house, show me how to play that guitar. So my dad taught Uncle Bill how to play the guitar. Uncle Bill went into the Navy and became really good. Played in the Navy band in Hawaii and came back. He was playing like Les Paul songs and, all kinds of, stuff that was way beyond what we could understand. But he had his band would practice in his living room. And they had drums, they had a bass, they had, a guitar, an amp, and a piano, and trumpets, and all kinds of stuff. So he let us. So my cousin Teddy wanted to have a band, so he got his friend, his neighbor from up the street, a second cousin, Eddie Basnet, to play with him, and the two of them played guitar together. And they play, Teddy played on his dad's stuff. Eddie bought a guitar, and they started playing. And then Joe said, "I want to join your band." So Joe joined, and of course, when Joe joined, it was like I had to be in there, So I said, "I want to join too." So originally, Teddy was going to play the drums. Well, in our first times we played together, Teddy was playing the drums. He was a very good drummer. Eddie played guitar. My brother Joe played trumpet, and I played piano. So, but then after a while, and we were playing like the songs that Uncle Bill played, the older jazzy kind of stuff. And then because he was teaching us, he was teaching us what to do. So
now, how old were you? How old were you about this time?
I think Joe was 9 and I was 11.
Okay.
So that's when it started. And then Joe was 9 and I was 10. That's right. It was before my birthday. So yeah, right. So anyway, I don't know. It's hard to remember, it's so long. I was writing a autobiography last year, and
oh, really?
It's probably in there. I got references from my cousin and everything to figure out when things happen, because it's hard to remember. So anyway, then we wanted to play songs that my Uncle Bill didn't play. We wanted to play the Ventures, for instance, the Walk Don't Run thing, and all the great Ventures songs. So Joe borrowed one of Uncle Bill's guitars, electric guitar, because my dad's guitar was it was acoustic.
Acoustic, okay.
So he started on my dad's guitar, but then Uncle Bill lent him a electric guitar. And so he started playing Uncle Bill's guitar, and Teddy was playing Uncle Bill's guitar, and Eddie switched to keyboards, and I switched to drums. So that was the configuration in the fall of 59. And that fall, I convinced my Boy Scout troop was going to have a dance, the Knights of Columbus Hall, and I convinced Bert Patterson, my scoutmaster, to let us play at the dance.
Wow.
So that was our first gig. I was 12 and Joe was 10.
Wow.
It was before Joe's birthday,
And did you go, oh, this is, I think I want to do this for maybe for the rest of my life?
No. I did not say that. But I said, oh my God, this is really fun. I wish there was more people here. There's only 12 kids.
Hey, that's the first one.
I have pictures. I have pictures of the Boy Scout dance. It's great.
Do you really? Oh, that's great.
We only knew a few songs, but we played our songs and then they played records, so.
Right.
And I think my girlfriend was there at the time. So, or no, she wasn't my girlfriend yet. That was
not yet.
That was later, but I think she was there. Yeah.
Okay, and then let's fast forward a couple of years. You probably saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, I would think.
Yeah.
Did that change? Yeah. Did that change, or just you were already heading that direction?
Nah, we thought they were not nearly as good as the Beach Boys.
We
were a Beach Boys cover band by then.
Oh, okay.
In the very beginning, we did everything. We played Dwayne Eddy and I can't
all
remember.
The covers.
Tommy Shannon and all the whatever was popular back then, we played it. But then when we heard the Beach Boys a couple of years later, that was 59, so the Beatles didn't come around for 4 years.
63, yeah, I was going to say 63.
So we were by the time the Beatles came, we were like,
Okay.
But
okay, go.
Okay, so but after they played on Ed Sullivan, we got some collarless suit jackets and we got Beatle wigs. and we played a dance in a little town, a high school dance in Theresa. And after the dance, the kids wanted our autographs.
No, there you go. There you
And that
go.
was
That's
it. That
great.
was like, oh, this is cool.
We made it. And the girls, it was good
So,
for the girls,
yeah,
definitely.
the Beatles definitely had an influence, maybe not musically at that time, but definitely, the idea of, maybe. But honestly, I didn't really ever think that it was going to be a career for me until I got to college.
Okay, what changed for you in college?
Well, like for one thing, so I had a college band, and I'd met Don Roser, and that was a whole story right there. But and we decided to have a little band, and we played. In the beginning, we played kind of like the beginning of the Regal Tones, where we played a little bit. We played the Coasters. We played, some Rolling Stones. We played the Beatles. And not really any focus. And then that summer between my freshman and my sophomore year, we all seemed to discover the blues at the same time. I discovered, what was the guy's name? Bright Lights, Big City. I can't remember, but and I played in a blues band that summer. After I finished summer school, because I flunked a class and I had to take it over in summer school, to bring up my grades, which didn't really bring it up that much, but I did play in a band after the summer school that was extremely popular. It was like they play these little clubs and get like a couple hundred people. There'd be people outside that couldn't get in, and it was like, And in that band, the lead singer of that band was a guy named Peter Haviland, lead singer, lead guitar.
Okay.
And he went to a school named Hobart, which is in Finger Lakes. It's like downstate. But Peter, his family had a cottage on one of the islands up in the Thousand Islands, which is where I grew up. So he would come up there every summer, and all of a sudden he had this band. Actually, the band had my old bass player, Eddie Basnet, and his cousin, Bill Basnet, and they had their drummer was because in high school I had drum students, because I was, all the kids knew that I was a drummer. So I had like 3 drum students. So one of my drum students was playing in this band, not old enough to play in the bars, but, so anyway, but his parents moved to Florida, so he had to leave. So they asked me to join the band. So I did. And I was shocked at how great they were and how much fun it was to play these blues songs. It was like, I'd started to get into improvisation, like serious improvisation. So that was really fun. And so when I came back to college, both Don and I had we got to change the direction of the band. We're going to be a blues band, and we played a whole set of Blues Project songs. And then we played, all kinds of Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and, Rolling Stones and Animals and, all blues, and we became extremely popular, just like the band they played with over the summer. By the end of the year, we were getting $500 a night, and this is in 1967. For the band, $100 a piece. So that was that seemed like a fortune back then. So
for having fun.
Yeah, for having fun. And, I could support myself with $100, if I played 4 or 5 nights a week. That'd be $500 a week in 1967. That was you could definitely, have your own place and have fun.
Wow.
So that's, so then we dropped out of college and, reality set in. Went from 500 a night to 15 a night.
Really?
Oh yeah. And they would say, we can't really afford, we don't have room on the stage for 5 people. Can you just get 3?
Well, that
Yeah.
that kind of messes with the band, you know. Yeah, you
Yeah,
get rid
yeah.
of the
It's like,
guitar player and
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
the
Yeah,
vocalist. Yeah,
not,
just
not quite
figure
as
that.
much fun, and for a lot less money. So yeah, so
So
but then I met Sandy Pearlman, and that was I somehow I knew that he was able to make it happen for us. I knew that it was going to happen.
now tell me, let's do about a year. You guys' first album came out in 1969.
Mm-mm.
1969.
It did come out. No, the lead singer quit, and then we got Eric to sing, who also was from Hobart, and a direct connection with Peter Haviland, because Peter was in Eric's band too. And
Okay.
and Peter would talk about Eric and say, "Oh, you think I sing good? You should hear my college band. That guy is really good." So
Really?
so I already knew that Eric was a great singer. So
Now,
so
when you guys got together, you weren't Blue Oyster Cult in the very beginning, correct? You were
yeah.
Stock
First
Force
we were
Group,
Soft Red Underbelly.
right?
And then Eric joined, and then somewhere in the early days of when Eric joined, we decided we should change our name because Eric kind of changed the whole vibe. We were more like the Doors, somewhere in between the Doors and the Grateful Dead, kind of a West Coast sounding, a lot of improvisation and just kind of
Blues.
bluesy, but soft. It wasn't really hard. And Eric really didn't like the soft stuff. He wanted much harder sound. So we changed our name to Stock Forest Group.
Okay.
And
So it was Soft White Underbelly first, then Stock Force Group.
right. Soft
Okay.
White Underbelly got a record deal in 1968 with Elektra Records.
Okay.
And we made the record. We ended up making it twice.
Oh.
Once in 1969, and then the lead singer Les, he quit the band. We agreed to part ways because he didn't like the direction of the band, and we did not care for the direction that he wanted to take us. So, we decided it was better. I mean, he was already successful. He'd had the flip side of a Peter, Paul, and Mary song. So I think, and that's why I think one of the reasons why the band sound was soft, because it was very folk rockish.
Okay.
Because of Les.
Eric
joined.
changed
Yeah,
everything.
it changed. Eric was like all into Steppenwolf, and it was a much harder sound.
Now, how did you go about writing? You guys have so many cool subjects, I guess. You guys go off and on tangents. Now, I read that you guys all lived in a big house together and you wrote the album and with a bunch of different people. And how was that? How did that go?
Well, it really was like one of these, it wasn't really like people would come every different night, but we had Richard Meltzer lived with us for a while. He had another place, but he liked to hang out in the house with us, and we had different people come out there. Helen Wheels, she was my girlfriend for a while, so she would live at the house with us. And I don't think Patti Smith ever came out, but Alan started going out with Patti when he was living in the house. But he would stay in the city with her in her apartment, which was actually owned by or rented by Robert Mapplethorpe.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was a Robert Mapplethorpe's apartment, and so Alan would stay with her. And so we had this house, but the first part of your thing, what you said about how the subjects would be, well, I don't know that you actually said it, but you implied that the subjects were untypical,
right?
Subjects for songs, and I would have to say that how that happened was really Richard Meltzer and Sandy Pearlman, who were our first lyricists and who I started working with. And I just thought that their lyrics were so wild. I just had to,
Yeah.
I mean, we would write songs and they would be like I'm riding my motorcycle, or oh, this girl is really cool, you know, songs to impress girls, but
Right.
they had these other things. I was like, wow. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, okay, one of my favorite songs is "The Last Days of May." Now, was
Huh?
that was I heard was that a story from a newspaper, and then you guys just kind of embellished on it? I love that song. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, well, no, it's how it came about was that we were at the band house and Don came up to me and he said, "Hey, I just found this chord progression. It's really sad. I'm like, I'd like to, write a sad song. What do you think?" And he played me the chord and I said, "Oh, I think that's great. That's it's cool." So I said,
Right.
"Well, what about writing about Bill Tate?" Bill Tate was our friend from Stony Brook, and
Okay.
so we used to go and hang out at his house. He always had drugs, so we would take. I remember one time we took mescaline, and I think the Chambers brothers came over, and it was like a wild, it was a wild fun party. I mean, it was not debauchery at all, but we were high as kites, you know. And Bill's house, and Bill was a great guy. I used to just hang out with him, So anyway, he had gotten killed in a drug deal in Arizona, and everybody was shocked because he was like the all-American kid. Really, he was not what you would think of a drug dealer. I mean, he
Right.
didn't, he just was a kid who had, and we would go and hang out with him, So, and he was a student. He was going to classes like everybody else.
Right.
And so Don said, "Oh yeah, So it was in the newspapers, but I don't think we did. We already knew the story. We knew what happened. So we started writing it, And I would suggest a line, and he'd say, "No, no, no, no," and he'd come up with something better. And so by the end, we had 2 verses, and that was it. And it was over. He'd been killed.
Right.
And he goes,
Right.
"Oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?" "Yeah, well, we'll put a guitar solo in." He goes, "Okay." So
There you go.
you look at the time, and it's like, it's only 2 minutes long. I said, "What about doing a flashback, like before the thing happened?" So that was my main. So he decided that was a good idea. So that's how that thing evolved. He came up with the Last Days of May line.
Right.
It was, actually, I think it was early June, but Last Days of May sounded better than early June.
Now, definitely, yeah. May it rhymes more with June. June's hard to rhyme with, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
So.
Moon, June, Spoon. Yeah, no, it just he just he liked that. So
Wow. So you did your first album, and I mean, you had basically the same 5 guys for 10 years, 12 years,
I think 11 years. I think that's
11 years.
I don't know. We started we started in 1970 with Joe. Joe joined the band after
Okay.
we had redone the Electra record in February of 1970. Joe was
Okay.
still going to college. It was his last year, so he graduated in May, and he came and joined the band in September. So. Yeah. So, and then we got the record deal in '71. We made the record in '71. So, but it was really 11 years. It was from '70 to '81. So
To 81. And
yeah,
you got a lot of writing credits on a lot of the albums, yes?
yeah. I'm a good idea guy. People would come
Good
to me and
idea,
say,
guy.
"What do you think?" And I'd have an opinion, you know.
And I guess pretty much anything is to Blue Oyster Cult. Anything was it was not off the table. It was like, okay, that did you write lyrics first, or did you write a melody, or how did you
No,
guys work?
I I was not really a lyricist. I think the entire time that I was in Blue Oyster Cult, I only wrote one song, the lyrics by myself, which was Fireworks. But I English was not a good subject for me in school. Starting in elementary school. I couldn't read until I was 9 years old. So
Wow.
that was a struggle. You know, it was early school, elementary school was, well, I was in like three different kindergartens, and first grade was like a horror show. And then second grade, it was like trying to play catch up. Third grade, they were getting worried, you know, my progress. And then fourth grade, I discovered Andre Norton.
Who's that?
She's a science fiction writer. Well, you know, I don't know that, you know, she was. Well, she wrote a whole bunch of books. I don't know if they've been. I think some of them are turned into movies, but I loved her stuff. I thought it was a man though, because she chose Andre because it wasn't her real name. But women didn't write sci-fi back in those days. But her writing was incredible. But so
and that motivated you. That motivated
yeah,
you to read.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
To read but I really was not ever really confident about writing until I became a teacher, and then
Oh wow.
then I had to go back to college and finish school, and that was involved a lot of writing, and then I got a master's in English. So after I got the English master's, I felt much more confident about writing, and I mean, yeah, I have a different eye or ear towards it now. You know, since I've studied it, I've studied my Shakespeare and all that stuff that you got to do. You know.
Right, right. Okay, so you all came from basically the same backgrounds, and then all of a sudden you're in this band now. When did a little bit of money come flowing to you guys to maybe change your lifestyle?
Reaper,
Reaper,
1970,
yeah.
1976. Reaper came out, and it wasn't a hit yet, but it was all of a sudden, you know, well, it was set up. It was really 1975 because we started getting to the top of all these reader polls, you know, and critic polls, you know, best new group, you know. Meanwhile, we'd been around for quite a while, but you know, we're on our
fifth album,
you know, and you know, which was a live record because we didn't have enough songs yet, so we decided to take a little break.
Gotcha.
And also, well, Secret Treaties was very well received and sold quite a few copies. You know, I think it sold like 100,000 copies, which was made the record company very happy.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. So
one of my favorites.
Yeah, and it ended up going going gold, 500,000, over 500,000. So yeah, so that was one, you know, but that see, I was disappointed in that record too because it didn't sound good. But if you listen to it, I listen to it now in a more critical ear, and I see that we gotten much better at writing songs. The songwriting was the songs are great. The song, great songs. I mean, you got Astronomy and Telepaths, and even KG Cretin is like pretty darn clever.
You know? Yes. Did you when Godzilla was written? Did you guys go, oh, okay, here we go, or this is going to be the one?
Oh yeah, no, we thought Spectres was going to be bigger than Agents of Fortune.
Did you?
Yeah, we were chasing the hit, and we had it by the tail right there. It was right there. But really, you know, you listen to Spectres. Now that's an unappreciated record. There's a lot
True.
of great songs on there. They put out going through the motions, which I didn't get that at all. It was like, well, this is really. I mean, it sounds like we're going through the motions, you know. I mean, that's what I thought, you know. And as I was doing it, I was like, not that I hated it. I mean, Ian Hunter is a very clever songwriter, but I didn't see how it could appeal to a lot of people, you know. Maybe to Martha Hoople fans, you know, maybe, right. You know, but you know, and it got covered by some girl singer. What was her? I can't remember. Anyway, but it got covered and got some attention. But right. And then they put out Godzilla, and that didn't catch on either. So
no.
Yeah. So and I'm not sure why. It's a great little track. You know, we had a blast making it. You know, but who knows? You know, I think maybe it was too far away from Reaper. You know, because Reaper is a semi-serious song, you know, and
yes,
Godzilla is not serious at all, you know, and they didn't even want to use it in the movie because it was so goofy.
Really, really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but then you know they ended up using, but not our version. They used the one with Bear McCready. Was that it? The guy, yeah, he did. He's like a soundtrack guy, but he used Serge Tankian from System of a Down to sing it. You know,
really?
It was like, yeah, it was wow. Scary. it was more scary. Yeah.
Great. All right. So you guys, you went from the little stage to the big stage. Now, how was that adjusting to that?
It was not as easy as you would think. You know, we kind of like being the underdog and trying to blow the headliner off the stage, and then all of a sudden there's nobody to blow off the stage. It's we're the target now. So and also I think that it was my dream to have a hit. So after I had a hit, it's like, oh, well, what do I do now?
What's now?
Another hit, you know. I mean, I think that we all kind of wanted that, but I started to really realize right away. By the time we got finished with Spectres, I thought, oh, you know, maybe this is a mistake, you know. But you know, I couldn't verbalize it to the guys, you know. But I had my doubts. I remember being on the road and feeling like, oh, what am I doing? This is really just, you know, giving people an excuse to get drunk and high, and you know, and it's not a real job, you know. It's like, it's just, you know, escapism, you know. I mean, that's what I was thinking. I really understand the error of my ways now. But well, you know, especially, you know, I did that.
The excitement was gone. Maybe the excitement was gone.
Oh, it was still exciting, but I think maybe my personal life was like, you know, I'd gotten married and had a kid, and it's like, just, you know, it's a different thing, you know. Life
hit you. Yeah, being the rock star is fun, but now you have a kid and a wife, and yeah. So did you record Fire of Unknown Origin, or were you in or out of the band?
Yeah, I was still in it, you know.
You were still in.
You know, Don brought Burning for You when we were making the Cultosaurus Erectus record, and I said, this is not good enough. You know, it just sounds like, you know, it's just like a pop thing. And I said, we need to be heavier. You know, I was really kind of emphatic about we've chased the hit. We know it doesn't work. We're turning off our fans. We've got to get back to what we did in the beginning. And so they said, okay, we'll give it a try. And it kind of worked because the record sold pretty well. There was no hit on it, but the record company seemed to be happy. The fans seemed to be happy. We heard a lot of getting, what we tried to do, people seemed to understand that that's what we were trying to do, was to get back to what we did. So then I thought, okay, the next year I said, hey, let's do that Burning For You song that I gave you the lyrics to. Meltzer had sent it to me, and I said, I wrote something, and I said, this is not good enough, and then I gave it to Don, and Don played it, and I'm like, still not good enough.
Really?
So, yeah. But then when he came back with it, he'd done a little arrangement, and he had, in the beginning, he didn't even have a tape. He just played it on the acoustic guitar. And I thought, it's okay. It's okay. It's a great lyric, but I don't know. But then he came back and he had harmonies and the vocal, and it was like, and the like, I'm here. The little fanfare thing was great. And so recording that was really fun.
Now, when was your last recording with the band? Was that it?
Yeah, well, until Imaginos, and then no. And the next record that they put out after Firebound on Origin was the live record.
Okay.
They used me for a couple songs on there. I think one of them was Dominance and Submission. I can't remember what maybe Dr. Music. I don't know. There was two songs that I played on there, and
okay.
And that was okay. I mean, it actually sounded quite good. So, and then they did a couple more records without me, without any input from me. So, even though I was like, I don't have to be in the band, but if you want, I could come and help you make the record,
Right. You were all still friends?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it was weird, when people think you're crazy, it's very hard to convince them that you that was a temporary insanity, and you've got your thing together,
You're back.
It's like you really have to, you're walking on eggshells, So it was weird. It was weird for many years. I'd say it was weird. Really until Alan died. Or no. Actually, it was not weird. That we did a show together, the original band, in 2012, and that was like it. That was it. It was like, okay, see, we're okay. We're good friends. We still make music. We sound exactly like we always sounded, and there was no rehearsal, no pressure. It was just got up there and did it.
Riding a bike.
Yeah. So,
how did Buck DeHarma get his nickname?
that was Sandy Pearlman. He gave everybody nicknames.
Oh yeah, what were everybody's nicknames?
Okay, so Alan was Laverne, just a one-word nickname, Laverne, and Eric was Jesse Python, which he hated. I thought it was great, but it did sound a bit like a professional wrestler. And mine was Prince Omega, which I liked too, but it never
Prince
stopped. Prince Omega, yeah.
Wow. So Sandy Pearlman was a huge part of your band, friend, everything, correct?
Co-manager and co-producer, songwriter. We did about 50. How many? But 42 songs were
really
written. Were Sandy's lyrics. Yeah, a lot of blues to cult songs. So
wow.
and something 40 something songs. So, and what I've been doing lately is, so in 2023, just as I was finishing the third, because Sandy and I had talked about, we were working on the first record, and I said, what do we do after this? This is our masterpiece. What are we going to follow it? What if it's a big success? We got to have something ready to come out after that. And he goes, oh, that's easy. It's going to be Bombs Over Germany. That's where the mirror causes the havoc that it's portending to in the beginning, And so then there's the wars, there's the World War I, World War II, Vietnam, all of these, Korean War, and then the final World War III. So that was, and then I said, so it's just 2 records? He goes, no, then it's the Mutant Reformation. So,
oh man.
So I did those 3 records. Not, by then Sandy had died, and so I all I had was what I remembered, and the suggestions of what he wanted me to do, and and it was a lot of redoing Blue Oyster Cult songs that Sandy had done for Blue Oyster Cult. And then on Mutant Reformation, we did songs, Soft White Underbelly songs, Stork Forest. We went way back, to the beginning. So just when that record came out, this professor at Stony Brook, Norman Pruslin, who is friends with Sandy, and he's been friends with me for many years.
Mm-hmm.
He called me up and said, hey, Michelle, and who I knew, she was Sandy's cousin. She was his only heir, the only relative that he had. And so his first cousin. So she's selling Sandy's house, and she just closed on it. And she said, there's a whole bunch of papers there, and maybe it's important, So I went over there, Norman tells me, I went over there, and there was a ton of papers. So I put them in a suitcase. Maybe you want to take a look at them. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So he brought it over. He said, I said, well, I'll take pictures of everything, and then they sat there for a while. And then I had this friend who's a young friend. She's like, I don't know, 20 something. She could be 30 by now. But anyway, she was an artist. So she used to send me this art, Imaginos art, basically, because she was fascinated with the Imaginos story. And so she came to the city. I was playing a gig at Sony Hall, and she came to the city to see the gig. And something happened with the place where she was going to stay, and she didn't have a place to stay. So I said, well, you can stay at my house. I have a big house here. I got a guest room, you can stay there. And so I had to go somewhere, and I left her in the house. I said, here's Sandy's papers. Maybe you want to look at them. So I came back, and she had taken pictures of
everything.
1,000 or 900 pages. She'd taken a
and
picture.
There were lyrics? Were they lyrics? Or?
Well, there was 28 songs of lyrics to songs that had never been recorded. Out of those, I was familiar with about 6 of them, because they were songs that I'd worked on at one time and never, I remembered them, but I couldn't remember the lyrics. It was like they never made it past the looking at the lyric and trying to figure something out. A lot of it was software and other stuff, but even after that, I just didn't make a demo with them, or I couldn't remember making a demo. I have all these tapes that I still have to go through at some point downstairs. But anyway, and not only that, but there were copies and copies, like songs like Astronomy, 55 versions. He had written 55 versions before we saw it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I gave one of the versions to Joe, and I said, listen, this is, you wrote Astronomy. This is what it was before you got it. He's like, oh my God, this is great. said, I want to write a
Wow.
song. I want to write this song. I said, okay, so that's a song that's going to be on the new Imaginos 4 record.
Really? And when is that going to be coming out?
Well, I don't know yet. I wrote to Deco today and I said, hey, when are we going to, I mean, I have 9 songs mixed. It's only going to be a single record because I just don't have the energy to do I said, I mean, I have 20, 24, 25 songs that I've written. Or well, I wrote 24 and Joe wrote this one song. It's called Four Winds Bar. Because that was the original title of Astronomy, was Four Winds Bar.
I was gonna say that's the bar they were at. That's the bar y'all were at.
Yeah. So and actually, while what I was doing before you called was I was making a music video treatment, like a little.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I started working with AI video. And
is that crazy? Is it just wild?
It is a mind boggle. I've been making videos for 18 years, and I developed a process after a while of I would think about the song and the lyrics and stuff, and I would get a storyboard, with a bunch of blank squares, and I'd write the lyrics underneath, and then I would write stuff in to go with each lyric.
Right.
And then after I got that done, I would write a shot list, and I'd write the characters, I'd write the outfits, I'd write all the things that I need, how much it was going to cost, and we do the video. And this started with the Blue Coupe, when my son, who was teaching me, because he went to film school, so he was teaching me how to do this stuff. My younger son, and so I was doing it since then, and then I saw this ad for AI video, music videos, and it's just the same process, although you do the shot list first,
right, and then it kind of does it shows you, and then you could add to it, something like that.
You do the shot list first, and then it does the storyboards for you. And then you can modify the storyboard to fit, I didn't mention that I wanted that, or, the hotel's got to say Gloria, Hotel Grand Gloria, or something, so and then you have to regenerate that particular shot, the storyboard,
and it does it like this.
No,
right there. Oh, regenerate. No, not that one.
Not fast. No, not fast at all. It's. I mean, for one shot, it can take maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but it's not instant. It has to think about it, and then to do a whole like. Well, once you get all your shots done, then you generate the video. And the video will take, an hour and a half or 2 hours, something like that. And then you have to go through the video and say, oh, you got to change that clip.
Now, do you have to go to that? Do you have to go to that? Now you're going to have all the clips, like you said, each clip. Yeah. And then you say, well, I really don't like that one. Then you have to go and take that one out and change that.
Oh, no. It's not that easy. I can't take things out and put things back in. It's like, you have to be very careful because they've set it up where you have an avatar, and the avatar is a lip sync shot, and so you don't need a lip sync shot for every frame. They cost more anyway. So So, but if you start taking out things, then the lip sync doesn't line up.
Fit up. Oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful with your shot list and your character development and all of that stuff. It's like, so the more together you are before you generate the video, the better it is. I found that, once you get the video, it's kind of hard to change it. You can make little incremental changes, but, something big it's like, you'll end up with not enough. The clips won't line up, and you'll lose shots, and then you've got to press the what do you call it? Undo button.
Undo.
But you've still paid.
What I just did, stop it. What I just did, no.
Yeah, you still paid for that other thing, so it's like, so. But I'm learning, and doing a deep dive into what's coming up in the future. I mean,
isn't it
the
crazy?
future of filmmaking is going to be amazing.
Yeah, and you want to be on the, you're going to be on the crest of it, on the wave of it, because you understand it. A lot of people are just making cat videos out of AI right now.
Yeah, and that's very easy to do. To do a video that tells a story, it makes sense. It ends up taking me 2 or 3 days at least, really? And I will, like I say, I'm working on this video for the Four Winds Bar, and I've already worked on it for 3 days, just getting ready. I haven't even put anything into because I'm not going to do it until it's being mixed right now. That's what I've been doing. Each time a song is mixed, I'll start working on the video, so that when I get the video, I can put it in and start, looking at the storyboard.
Okay, AI for the part of the video, for the visual part, what do you think about AI music that's coming out right now? Like a computer is making it.
I'm not sure. So one of the songs it was a song that I wrote many years ago for Sandy, and I thought it was going to be, I don't know why I never recorded it, but it wasn't quite right, So I saw this lyric and I said, I'm going to do this, and it fits right in with the Imaginos character, like when he's in Texas and stuff, or in Mexico, like so, and it has to do with the formation of the Plutonian state and all of this other stuff. So it fits right in. So I thought it's got to be in this particular one, because this is going to tie these new things,
tie it all together,
back to the other one. So, but I didn't like it. So I thought, well, maybe if I get Joe Sarasano to sing it, it'll just jump out at you a little bit more, So I sent it to him, and he said, "Oh, Bert, I'm doing this thing for the NFL. I've got a bunch of commercial work I got to do, and my son is doing a documentary on me. And my wife she's got to have an operation. I can't really work on it for a while, probably not for 3 weeks." I said, "Okay, that's fine." I'm at that time, most of the record wasn't mixed, and a lot of the songs weren't done. So I sent it to him, and the next day he sends me a track. I'm like, "Oh wow, he did it right away."
That's quick.
No, he put it into Suno, and Suno
really
rewrote my song. It didn't change the song. You still had the same melody, and you still had the same words, but the arrangement was radically different. And at first I'm like, AI slop, it's like,
right.
Then I'm like, wait a minute. No, this is actually telling the story. It's doing a very good job. It made it more dramatic, So I said, let me see, there was pretty, it was obvious things that I didn't think of, like when it comes to the chorus, it got really big. There was like all these more instruments, and then it comes down to the verse, and it's like quiet, and and there's only like an acoustic guitar, and I thought, oh, that's pretty dramatic. Like that. I like that, and I had played a lead guitar, like a few little lines, and they put the lead guitar, well, it was really like a country guitar. It was like country licks. The whole thing sounded like country. I'm like, no, that's not what I want here. This is going to be spaghetti western. So, but I said, oh, well, let me put the guitar in, more guitar. And I thought that I would get somebody else to play the guitar, and I'd send it to this guy, and he just, he's a brain surgeon, and he didn't have time to do it. So I said, well, I'll just do it, So I redid all my guitar parts, and I added a whole bunch more, and I ended up redoing the entire track. I wasn't, at first I thought, well, I'll just come down in the verses and get bigger in the choruses and add stuff and whatever. But then I listened to it again. I'm like, well, except that the ending is extremely lame on the Suno track. And I'm like, that's because I don't have an ending. My ending, I had it end on like a suspension chord, like, but Suno just kind of made it fade out. I'm like, you know what? The song is so dramatic. You can't, it has to explode at the end. So I completely, so I said, okay, that's it. I've got to I'll keep the bass and the drums, and I'm going to redo everything else on the track. So, and that came out great. I did a video for it. I put in, I wanted it to be like El Topo. And it is.
Is it?
It is. Oh my God. It is like, well, it's not as crazy as El Topo, but it's pretty crazy. So.
Well, yeah. Basically, if someone were to show you, you give them their song and they go, hey, try this and this, and you're like, okay. So AI kind of showed you a way to go, and you either, you took it or didn't.
Yeah. It was a great analyzing tool of my thing. I would never use, I don't think I would, I mean, the sound, it was like, it was so obvious, that, and people, they're going to want my stamp on it. If they buy my product, I have fans.
They want Albert. They want Albert.
They want me to, so I wasn't, and the final thing about AI is that I have too much fun doing this to let a machine do it for me. I agree. Even if it was 10 times better than what I do, I'd still do it.
Agreed. Well, Albert Bouchard, I want to thank you very much for coming on the Plow Zone Radio Show, and it's been a pleasure. And I am a fan, and I'm really looking forward to your new stuff that's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
All right, guys. Albert Bouchard, formerly of Blue Oyster Cult, now just kicking ass and everything.
Yeah.